Okay, so let's imagine a scenario, because we might as well. If you're driving, don't do this. But if you're not driving, close your eyes and imagine. You got them closed? Okay, I have mine closed right now. You're in your town. You're downtown. You're one of your favorite places. I don't know. There's a coffee shop or someplace you really like, and you're walking down the street, and a person comes up to you and says, "Pardon me, but my cell phone battery has died, and so my Google Maps is not working. I need to find 1473 West Main Street. Can you help me with directions to this address?" And you turn, because you're a nice person, and you say, "Sure." And you know the town really well because it's your town. And you say, "What are you looking for?" And they say, Bob's Burgers. And so, "Oh, yeah, that's right. So here's how you go 3 blocks this way, and then you're going to see a bank, and turn at the bank, turn left, and then you're going to see a Cost Plus, and turn at the Cost Plus, and right next to that is going to be a animal store, a pet store, and right next to that pet store is Bob's Burgers." And you give those directions, and you freely give of this information, and the person listens to you, and they take it, and you know what happens next? They actually get to where they're going to go. Here's what's amazing about that, is that you've given up your information, and yet you have lost nothing. Hi, everybody. Todd Conklin and the Pre-Accident Investigation Podcast. You've done it. You've made it through another one. You've made it through another day, another week, another month. You are just forging ahead like crazy. You are creating the future. That's how stinking important you are. Holy guacamole. So, and I'm glad to be with you on that journey, because I, too, am forging ahead and creating my own future in the midst of uncertainty and variability. Oh, don't get me wrong. I live in uncertainty and variability, but I'm creating a future right along beside you, and that is where we come together and talk about it at the podcast. So, because I talk to you guys about this all the time, that this year is the year of finding the humanity in everybody, and I just keep forging along, desperately looking for humanity as things move forward, bit by bit, moment by moment, case by case. But what's happening is, this is, I don't know how else to tell you, because I wouldn't lie to you because I got nothing to gain. But it's changed the way I look at interfacing with people in public spaces. I don't think it's changing like work, really. I mean, like work relationships, because maybe I always look for the best in that anyway. But what's changed is when I went to a movie the other day, because that is a great thing to do. And if you ever hang out in Santa Fe, the one thing we got a lot of is movies. We got 1 million for a little tiny town. We got a boatload of movie theaters. And what happened to us is one of those kind of fancy movie theaters came into town. The kind that's got like the wood oven pizzas and 900 kinds of beer and 5,000 types of wine and super artsy lounge dining area. And then you actually pick your seat when you buy your ticket. And then the seat's got like a footstool and a recliner and a table, and you can actually take your pizza into one of those kind of movie theaters, kind of fancy pants. Well, because that movie theater came into town and it's incredibly successful. I mean, it's full all the time. It's kind of caused all the other movie theaters to raise their game. So now we got this movie theater thing where they're all kind of outdoing each other in their hipsteriness. Is that a word? Yeah, I think that is. And that's kind of what's going on. So I went to a movie, and I'm walking up to the ticket ripper offer person, which I actually think that's the actual title. So I don't want to use a lot of inside movie theater jargon, but you know what I mean? The person who rips the ticket in half and says, "You're in theater 7, right?" And I looked at that person and I thought, man, I bet that person has a story, because I bet there's a story that somehow leads you to this job. And I bet this job's an interesting job. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to approach him. I'm just going to approach him kind of in a way that's sort of open to that. And I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And they said, "Really good, thanks." And I said, what do you know about this movie? And the person said, well, we haven't seen it yet. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a full report when I leave. And they said, do that, because we got a lot to choose from. And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out which ones to go to because there's only so much time. They let us go for free, but I don't know which ones to see. And I thought, well, that was a really interesting little encounter. It was kind of nice. It was fun. I learned a lot from them. They learned a lot from me. I actually left feeling better, watched the movie, came out, ticket ripper offer person was standing right there. And I said, so here's the deal. I probably wouldn't spend a lot of time going to this movie. This movie, although it looks like it could be fun, was actually kind of horrible. Okay, so the movie I went to was the new Sherlock Holmes movie. The one that's supposed to be funny. It's I don't know, you guys. It kind of wasn't, I don't know. It felt like an hour and 40 minutes of your life you're not getting back. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't very funny, right? So we had this moment where we shared this information and it all went well. That is what I want to talk about today. What I want to talk about today is the ability to share and learn. So let's go back to my opening story, not the movie theater story, but my opening story, because that's a pretty interesting one. So you freely gave of actually very significant, important tactical information. That's what you did. You gave directions. And what's amazing about this, and I think about this all the time, is that you gave up valuable information, and yet it cost you nothing. And that's the interesting thing about sharing and learning, is that ultimately giving away operational data is incredibly valuable. So you learning something in your company and telling me the story of what you learned, and then me vicariously learning something about my company through your story, that's super valuable. In fact, that's probably the definition of learning. What's amazing to me is that it means you had to give away very important information, but in fact, it actually cost you nothing to give that away. When you think about knowledge sharing, and I want you to think about it a lot because it's really important for us to think about, the cool thing about knowledge sharing is after you give that knowledge away, you still have the knowledge. It doesn't erode, like every time you tell a person the knowledge story, you lose 1/10 of it. It doesn't erode. And sharing insights, sharing knowledge, sharing effectiveness costs us nothing because we still have the insight. We still have the knowledge. We still have the effectiveness. That's the power of operational learning, but most importantly, that's the power of the sharing that happens when we go in to actually learn. Is our workers tell us what's going on. They tell us how work actually happens. They tell us what normal looks like. They answer this question: what's happening when nothing bad is happening? And in their zeal to tell us, because we've created an environment where they can tell us what's happening, in their zeal to tell us what is happening, they share with us their insights. And what's amazing is after they give us their insights, they still have their insights. It didn't cost them. In fact, it's the ability to share and to multiply really our ability to learn and do work across and throughout our organization, but also across and throughout other organizations like ours. So the enterprise for all the power companies you guys have, or all the oil and gas companies, or all the ships at sea, or however we learn. That knowledge, that insight sharing, we give freely of because we get to keep the knowledge, and the actual cost of sharing that insight is not very much. I don't know if you've thought about this, but that's the notion of really operational generosity. But what it really is the notion of understanding and respecting the others, and that would be other groups, other divisions, other parts, other companies, the others' ability to learn. We don't give away our knowledge because other companies earned the right to have our knowledge. We give away our knowledge because other companies deserve the ability to learn the lesson before we had to, and at a lesser cost than we had to pay. That, in essence, is what we do as a group of people who are interested in safety and reliability. Thomas Kuhn, the great philosopher of science, he calls this phenomena the invisible college. That what we are, all of us together collectively, we are the invisible college of people who think about safe and reliable operations, think about creating safe workplaces, think about not killing workers. We are the invisible college of people who do that for a living. And what we share with each other is our body of knowledge. And because we're this group, we do get together, we have organizations, but ultimately we're so much larger than our organizations. And that invisible college is created by a shared interest and the ability to share insights. So we have common ground, and because we have that common ground, we have the ability to learn from one another. But we don't learn because we have earned the right to learn. We earn because we're an organization that's a part of that invisible college. And what's amazing to me when you really think about it is that when you give away directions to a burger shop in your town, you're giving away important strategic and logistical information while simultaneously getting to keep all that important and strategic logistical information. That's how I want you to think about learning. And that's really how I want you to think about safety learning throughout your enterprise, your organization, but more importantly, across your enterprises and your organizations. We create this invisible college of learning. And then what we have to do is go out and freely share our insights, knowing that it'll cost us nothing, in order to allow improvement to happen at every single level. Now, I love talking about it globally just because it's fun to talk about globally. But this discussion that I just had fits perfectly in your organization as well. The reason we go out and learn from workers, the reason we ask workers to share their insights is not because we've earned the right to go talk to the workers or the workers have earned the right to talk to us. It's because we all share in the greater common good. And what we're creating is a system that is more reliable. That when we do work in high-risk environments, that what we want to have happen, happens. That risk is always matched with safeguards, and that, in fact, we create an environment where we're constantly sharing our insights, our operating experience, and in doing so, our cost is we get to keep the operating experience that we just shared. The cost is virtually nothing. That challenge is an important challenge in the way we think about learning. So you've heard me say it before. I'll say it again because, I'm not afraid to say stuff twice. If I were to define operational excellence, I would define it by saying operational excellence is the ability for an organization to continuously and effectively learn from itself. Operational excellence is about your feedback systems. That's what you manage to become better. And giving feedback is the opportunity to share insights and experience. And in doing so, you're giving away data to the system, but you're also getting to retain that data at the local work spot. That, my friends, that's our job. That's what we do for a living. We create the opportunity for improvement to happen. Think about it. That's the podcast for today. Learn something new every single day and then share those insights freely because it costs you nothing and you get to keep them. Have as much fun as you possibly can because why the hell not? And ultimately, Be safe.